Warriors, Warriors, Warriors. Shout out to Go State Warriors. We'll talk more about them a little later on. Hey, welcome to the Dialogue. It's Dialogue with Dozell. Tonight, we got a lot of stuff we want to talk to you about. We're going to talk about Juneteenth. The day is the official federal holiday for Juneteenth. We're going to talk about Juneteenth. We're going to talk about yesterday's Father's Day. You ever ask the question why fathers get the short end of the stick? We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the NBA championship, so I can talk a little bit more about the Warriors. In the meantime, as they were saying on the radio, in between time, we're going to kick off. KD is going to be joining us a little later. He's on another call that he couldn't get around. So, oh, by the way, this hat, this shirt, what am I wearing here? This is, let me get some of these appendages out of the way. This is an official, it's called a house. You all who know the culture, it's Morehouse. That's what they call it. You ask a brother who went to Morehouse, hey man, what school did you go to? He said, I went to the house. Okay, you ask somebody who went to FAM, they say, where did you go? I went up on the hill. You ask somebody who went to Bethune-Cookman, they say, I was on the yard. A lot of people call it yard, but since I was there, I'm gonna go ride with those who make that the yard, as in the official yard. So a lot of black colleges, their strolls, their main centerpiece has names for themselves. Hello, Fern, how you doing? KB is going to be on a little later. He has something else going on. I'm trying to figure out this camera so I can get rid of this white outline. He is coming on. That he got a last minute Zoom call, and he's in a little season. So Fern, you may know what I'm talking about. So he'll be on later. But we're going to talk about these things tonight. I'm going to be asking Madam Director to help me tonight because we are going to be talking about Juneteenth, and she has a lot of stuff, a lot of information to help me on this subject, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Listen, we got some crazy stuff going on. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk about it later. The January 6th commission is going on, and maybe we don't need to talk about that right now, but there's some crazy shenanigans that are going on around the January 6th commission, and I want to talk about that. Usually I reserve this time, Kim and I are kicking it, we're talking about what's the weather where you are in Jacksonville, and I'm telling you what the weather's like while I'm in South Florida. Well, he's not here right now, but I'm going to kind of tell you all what the weather's like in South Florida. It is raining. If I had the soundtrack, I'd play It's Another Rainy Day in South Florida. Okay, you all who remember Chicago, remember their albums? They were numbered albums. They were Roman numerals and all of their hits. Wow. Next week we're going to be talking about Black music history. It's Black History Music Celebration Month is just about to go out, and we'll be talking about that on next Monday night. There's some exciting guests that are coming our way to discuss this topic with us. But for right now, you hear me just talking about music, period. This show is full of music. We used to use Chicago in our outro music, and we kind of wanted to not have to deal with some of the problems that you deal with one of our platforms. We're on YouTube Live, and we're on Facebook Live. And one of our platforms is very meticulous about the licensing rights. And so we pulled that. We had the other song by Roger Erlin, Animals. That was our trademark song that led into the show. Speaking of the show, this time last week, we had just celebrated. I just went through and looked at some highlights of some shows. And this time last week, I don't know why this house is coming up crooked on me. Let's see. Is it right, Fern? Did I get it straight there? Okay. This time last year, I was actually in Duval, and we celebrated the first year's anniversary of the show. So that means now we're 2 years in. And I wanted to do some clips and stuff of some of our greatest shows. We've shown a couple of reruns this year. And I think we're going to save this for the end of the year show. But to all of our viewers, all of our friends, everybody who has rocked with us from day one, and we get it. When we were all locked inside, fear of the pandemic, people were resorting to a lot of social media and watching social media. Heck, I got the idea. I saw everybody else sitting in front of a camera, getting in front of a camera, and I said, I think I got a lot to talk about. I'm locked in the house, so I might as well talk. And we talked about a myriad of things. Remember what's going on in the midst of the pandemic? It was the situation out of Atlanta, in Georgia, outside of, was it Savannah, where that hideous murder took place, where a couple people killed this young black man that was jogging through the community. The George Floyd thing surfaced. There were several things of that nature that took place in the midst of. Okay, we're getting the sign that we got to put headsets in. This, I don't know what's causing this every week. So we learned that the biggest thing we learned was the George Floyd, and I can vividly remember one night sitting in front of the camera right before the show came on, and I already had the wardrobe that I was going to wear, and then all of a sudden, the president at that time went in front of a camera that is located. Hope we don't give out a juice. Let me unplug one, plug another one in. Okay. I hope we're better, Madam Producer. Let me know something, please. So at that time, we went to, I was looking at the news right before the show came on, and the then president, that's how I'll identify him, Fern, forgive me, the then president came on, and he walked across the Secret Service and a couple of military people, and walked across the street to the Methodist church over there, and held upside down a Methodist songbook. It was supposed to represent a Bible, and it was about as much as I could take at that time. So I had my wife cracking up at me. I had a black tee. I put on all black because that's how I felt. Just how I felt with the way things were going on. I saw a protest going on across the world, and in our country, I saw protests being led with people of all colors, and we were real Americans protesting what we saw as an American injustice, and we came together as one. And then the president did that. So that was how I responded. Well, anyway, it was those kind of shows that got us off the ground. We had great numbers at that time because everybody was locked in because of the pandemic. Now the numbers have dwindled, but when we go back and look at the numbers afterwards, the numbers are good. We have these good shows. A lot of people go back and look at the show after the fact, whether they comment or not. I'm constantly getting hits on my pages and then I'm getting these invitations to boost it even further. So we're not discouraged by the ratings. What I'm trying to say is we have now knocked down 2 years of dialogue with Dozell. Yay! It's been a good run. We are so grateful. This is the genesis of the show. I got in front of the camera. We started just broadcasting about what was going on in the world, culture, sports, entertainment, music, just everything, politics, news. We just had a great time. And then I wanted my brother on the show. And he came on as somewhat of a guest one night. And I said, that's my brother. We'll never go after each other. Yeah, thanks, Fern. You were there last year for the celebration. And he came on as a guest. And just before we got him on, our daughter, the producer, Latoya, and her famous team, BogoGigaCreations.com, came on. And they started producing the show as well as our church services. So what a great 2 years it's been. It couldn't have been this great had people like Fern and Phyllis and Latasha and Bernard and Mac and Leroy and so many of you who I hear from, whether you saw the show live and come in it live, you'll hit me during the week and say, man, I saw that. That was great. We say thank you to all of you. You help make it, and you help spur us on, and you help us do what we do. So we had a good time last year this time, didn't we, Fern? We met at the Golden, I'm going to call the name of the restaurant. We met at the Golden Corral there in Jacksonville, and we just had a lot of fun. I don't know what's going on. Okay, So we'll try this. We'll try to make it work at the break or whatever. Still getting sounds. This is some junk that's just starting to happen. Um, so yeah, we had a great time, Fern. We certainly did. You wrote co-host until the co-host arrived, and we just had a great time at it. And we were so great. I'd ask you to hop on camera now, but I'm not going to impose that on you. You may be working in the house or whatever, but you're more than a guest. You're a family. You're a sister. You're the sister, one of the sisters that the V3, the Varner boys, never had. We got cousins that we're close to. We each have friends, but you have jumped in there and been that for us, and we love you. Listen, this was a lot of things. A lot of holidays popped off this weekend, and I just got to get this shirt right. It's killing me. Okay, so we heard people talking about. So we celebrated Juneteenth. Let's see. I got you, Fern. I'm not gonna ask you to do it, but we will be asking you to come on later. She said, "I don't have any makeup on." Don't do that to me, Dozell. We got you, sis. You covered. Juneteenth was actually on Saturday the 19th, which celebrated it was a celebration that occurred as a result of 1865. Madam Producer is gonna come on and help us out with that in a second, but that was a commemoration of the freedom that was the liberation that was sent to the. I see you first sent to the people in outside of Galveston, Texas, and the little county there around Galveston, Texas. And okay, you just got word. KB will be here in just a second. We're sure looking for. I'm trying to hold the fort down until he gets here. I know we got these issues. So that's what Juneteenth, and we celebrated that. The actual date was Saturday, but a lot of us celebrated on yesterday. But yesterday, I'm almost 115 years old, and it took me this long to figure out that Father's Day is always the third Sunday in June. Don't tell nobody. I didn't know that at the time. I always look at the calendar when it gets closer to time. But Father's Day was yesterday, and we celebrated fathers. And KB and I, we're going to kick that. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Fern, you join in. I saw your Facebook page, your Facebook post, and we're going to talk a little bit about our fathers and Father's Day. But we're also going to kick off Juneteenth. On the other side of the break, somewhere on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about the NBA finals. That has ended. We're going to talk about some of the Facebook posts about that. And the big conversation that KV and I are going to have, and Fern, we need you to referee this. If the V3 involves, especially the public, we ain't going to dogfight. We just going to kind of kick it a little bit. The fandom part of it, it's about bandwagons, fans, and can you have more than one team? Can you have a team 1 and 1A, or can you have a team 1 and somewhere down the line another team? We're going to talk about all of those things. Fern, we just appreciate you, sis. We lifted up Bob yesterday. He just love and appreciate you all. I think he's about to pop on in just a second, and I'm trying to buy time with him. But this time a year ago, we celebrated we celebrated an awesome year of the dialogue, because we had a great celebration at the Golden Corral. We had about 10 or 12, 13, 14, 15 people there. We had a marvelous time. Some of our childhood friends were there. One of my teachers, let me shout him out right now, Mr. Paul Appreciate. He's still from a distance through social media pointing to the young men and the young ladies that he taught over at Landon Junior High in Jacksonville. Fern, what you know about Landon? Landon used to be a high school. Great time we had there. And he was there. Our childhood friend, Charlene, was there. My wife's childhood friend, she came out. We just had a great time. All of our regulars were there for the show. We just had a great time. Antoine, the comedian, by the way, he owes us a show, y'all. And he owes it to us real soon. Okay. Nice try, Madam Producer. We still looking for you to come on audibly and talk a little bit about it in just a second. Just trying to give Kim a second. He just hit me up and said that he's due on in just a second. Fern says Okay. Some whites are not getting the official date of the Texas notification, date of the release of slavery, and I wonder why is that. Uh, I wonder why is that they didn't have it. Was that incidental, coincidental, or was it just planned? Fern, thank you for your comments, helping us keep the show up tonight and keep it going. We're going to talk about some pleasant things and some not so pleasant things tonight. Every time I sit down to script this show, I think of our audience, and our audience has so much to do with what we plan and how we plan it. Uh, and then I'm always driven. I think about my co-host. He and I. There's some political things. He's not a astute into politics, though he could probably run for mayor and do quite well. I just say that modestly because he's so popular. He's done so many good things. I was talking to a brother today from South Florida who talked about a great favor that he did for him because of the favor that he has of the people in the good city of Jack in the bold new city of the South. Um, but I consider all of these things when we start putting this show together every Monday night, and then in the midst of it is my in the midst of Madam Producer. I'm trying to wait till we get Kim on. We'll give him a second or two, and then we're gonna go ahead and kick it because we want to kick his pictures and everything in there. Um, we have a picture grand and we want to kick in this thing. You know what? So let me just kick some of this stuff around. Fern, I hope you're listening. I hope others will listen and chime in as I mentioned some of these things. The January 6th Commission, we're going to get to Juneteenth. The January 6th Commission is investigating the events that occurred on January the 6th and the events that occurred prior to January the 6th, the planning, the preparation, the travel, the financing, everything that took place. And of course, the aftermath and tragically the deaths of 5 Capitol police officers, 3 of them by suicide. How sad that was. But in the midst of that, there are some people whose lives are being threatened by the far, far right. I'm so careful about how I talk about this stuff, but I got to mention it, and I need your comments. Some of the people on the far, far right, Adam Kissinger is one of 2 Republicans, one of the 2 more noted Republicans, along with Liz Cheney, who serve on the January the 6th committee. I was looking a little earlier today, and he was saying how he has been threatened. He has had someone call up, send a letter to his house, threatening to kill him, his wife, and his 6-year-old baby. And I guess I just see things a little. I'm wondering, hey man, is it that deep? That's happening. I've looked at all of the threats that have gone down and the threats of violence. We know what the threat was to the Vice President of the United States. We learned that he was 40 feet away. He was literally going in one direction as the mob, and that's what they were, came in the other direction and quickly diverted away without them seeing him. How about that Capitol police officer, that big statured brother who directed the mob away from the gallery where they were meeting to certify the election? That was the whole thing, the whole objection of the mob. They were sent from behind the White House to go down to go in and to prevent the election from being certified by the vice president. And how about that? How about that thinking officer who diverted them away? And then how about the Secret Service men who got the vice president away? And I know it's not popular by some people on the left, but the courage of the vice president who talked to former Vice President Dan Quayle. Wow, we know we had opinions of him, and who gave him an advice, reminded him that his duty was to obey the Constitution of the United States. And that's what he ended up doing. Wow. Okay. So we should come to terms about Both sides. Okay, I'm coming to terms with both sides. I want to know what the other side is, Fern. And since I've asked questions, since you said that, I want to know what the other side is. Was that violence, demagoguery? What was that? And I asked the question like this, and I think this just kind of puts it all in context and settles the whole discussion. Were it Barack Obama? Um, will we still be having this conversation, or would he have been already locked in the bottom of some prison cell in Leavenworth? I guess that's just settles the question. Or had that been Black Lives Matter, a Black Lives Matter crowd consisting of mixed individuals, would they have already been sentenced at this point and not gotten moderate sentence, but harsh sentences? I just think that kind of answers the question right there. If we're going to look at both sides of the argument, and that's what it is. So I think that you've heard the Attorney General, who other times went way out of his way defending the president and his position on other matters, and did his best to uplift the president and not have him displayed in a bad light on one of the impeachment hearings and some of the questionings that took place. He ended up resigning before his term was up, just weeks before his term ended, because he came to grips to the oath of his office as Attorney General of the United States and his oath as a lawyer to stand up for the Constitution of the United States. And he told what looks like the truth to the January 6th Commission. So I just want to know what the other side is. I need anybody that's on right now, please tell me what is the other side of this conversation. I'm just trying desperately to know what's the other side of the conversation. Okay. I'm also holding off, hoping that KV will be on any second, so we can jump into the Juneteenth and Father's Day conversation. So I want to be fair. If you have another point, please bring it up, because I do want to discuss what is the other side of it. I've been looking at the TV ratings. I'm a TV, radio, film lit guy. The ratings have been pretty high. However, the polls are indicating that some of the findings are not making a difference with many, not resonating with many Americans. Those polls, as you go farther, says that they are Republicans or right-leaning independents that are saying that what difference does it make? Well, again, I raise the question. It's the only question of the hour. Were Barack Obama, would we be asking what difference, what does it make? Had he stood on a podium behind the White House, if he had his private counsel, if he had brought in some whack job, a former mayor, if he brought someone like that in, and he brought in other crazy out lawyers who brought in crazy advice and stood on a podium in his words, and then tell the audience, who we now know is a crazy out mob, to go down and let's see if we can get the vice president to stand up and be courageous. And they went down, defecated in the United States Capitol. They broke through the windows. They literally pinned one Capitol officer's neck in between the door. Let's talk about the other side of it. I'm waiting to hear somebody tell me something about the other side, because I really want to know. I want to know what the other side is. There's right, there's wrong, there's black, there's white. When I say black, I'm not talking about color. I'm just talking about shades of colors. There's black, there's white, there's wrong, there's right. There's justice, there's injustice. There's just give me the other side. I want to hear the other side. Maybe there's a side that I'm not hearing, and I am truly open to finding out what is the other side. Can we discuss the other side? And let's see what the other side is. Somebody help me. Okay? I want to deal with both sides of this discussion. Okay, we're getting ready to talk about Juneteenth. I tried to wait till Kim was able to get on. We'll deal with that later. I tell you what we'll do. We'll hold off some of the pictures of the Juneteenth. I'm told that the producer has some fun. Wait a minute, before we go, let's deal with this. It's my understanding that guy has not been formally charged. Rock has not been charged either. Let's face this, it's always political party opposition. Can't we make this about the security of our country? Stop this and let's be of one. Okay, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. I'm asking a question. I don't care. Let's take away party affiliations. Let's take away the labels, Democrat, Republican, Independent. Let's take all of that away and just say if it had been 44 who had done this, as opposed to 45, would we be asking the same questions? Would we be positing the same thoughts? Would we be asking for the same objectivity? Would we be asking for that if it was 44 instead of 45? That's all I'm asking. I think if we all honestly looked in our hearts and answered that truthfully, I don't think that would be the case. Okay, we're going to break, and on the other side of the break, we'll leave this for now, unless there's further discussion. If there's further discussion, I'll discuss it. Okay, I'm down with it. Okay, let's go to our break. When we come back, I've been told to go out and come back on after the break. We'll do our little midway term, and then we'll get into Juneteenth and talking about the NBA championships. Okay? I'll Okay.
Hey, can you hear me?
I do hear you.
Okay, awesome. Awesome.
All right. Am I better now?
You are great. We hear you awesomely.
Okay, awesomely. Let's proceed. Okay, Madam Producer, thank you. You have displayed some fun facts about Juneteenth. Fern, put those on hold. We're going to come back to that. Okay, we are going to come back to that. Thank you. Okay, some fun facts about Juneteenth. Madam Producer, you might have to read them because I can't see them.
Oh, get your glasses. Okay, I got you.
I'm listening. We're listening. What are some of the fun facts? Madam Producer? Okay, I guess I got to read the fun facts. I can't see them. Okay, fun facts. Oh, wait a minute. Hold the phone. We got a shout out. We'll do it at the end of the show. Don't let us forget. It is the oldest, what is it? I can't see them. It is the oldest known holiday that commemorates the end of slavery in the U.S. Okay. Juneteenth is the title of a book by Arthur Ralph Ellison. Other books by Carol May and other. Okay. All right. Madam Producer. All right. I've lost the producer. I've lost our producer. Where is she? Am I on? Okay. Madam Producer?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah.
We needed you to read some of those fun facts. Can you do that? Can you display that screen again? Talk about some of those fun facts?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So number one, Juneteenth. And it's Juneteenth, not Juneteenth.
Juneteenth. Go ahead.
There you go. It is the oldest known holiday that commemorates the end of slavery in the U.S. Juneteenth is the title of a book by Arthur Ralph Ellison. Other books by Carolyn Meyer and Anne Rinaldi also center around the day. Some cities and groups have Miss Juneteenth contests. Do y'all have Miss Juneteenth contests in Broward County?
When I was working, we didn't. Okay.
Okay. Strawberry soda pop was once a popular drink associated with celebrating the day.
Wow. Why is that?
I don't know. We got to find that out. There is a Juneteenth flag of freedom. It is half red, half blue, with a star in the middle. Each year, a Juneteenth flag raising ceremony is held in Galveston, Texas. And I think I have a picture of that flag, and I think that's interesting because every Juneteenth celebration thing I see is black and green and red, right?
Right.
Right. So I think it's interesting. There's actual a flag for it, and I haven't seen anyone use it at all. So let's see if I can grab that for you.
You know what, Madam Producer? I think I did see that flag yesterday. There was a program on yesterday
This
on
guy?
CN. Okay, maybe I didn't see that guy.
Okay.
Okay, that's an awesome flag. I like that. I
Yeah, I
like
like
that
it
guy.
too. It's very American. I love it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep. And there you
Okay.
go. Those are fun facts.
Wow, your fun facts are awesome, Madam Producer. Um, I'm trying to see what my co-host is. Um, okay, so let me say this, and we have some photos, but I would like for him to be on to help talk about those photos. There are Juneteenth is Juneteenth. Am I saying it right? Juneteenth. June
Juneteenth. Juneteenth. There you go.
Juneteenth.
There you go.
Juneteenth was originated on uh, June the 19th of 1965 of 1865. There were some that order was taken by the Union Army to this little county, this little city outside of Galveston, Texas, which is, of course, right outside of Harris County, right outside of Houston, Texas, to inform them. And it wasn't as deep as the stronghold of the deep South as we know it, Alabama, Georgia, uh, Mississippi, and all of that. But it was sent there to inform them of, hey, I see my co-host. It was sent there to inform them of that slavery had been abolished. Okay, that slavery was over. The president had signed that slaves should be set free, and so that was sent on that date. And while here's the funny part, some slaves who were set free did not know how to react. They didn't know imagine being under somebody's edicts all of your life, and here you are now an adult, and you are being given. Could you let him on, please, ma'am? KB, what's on?
Hey, bro,
What's
what's
up,
happening, man? How's everybody
man?
doing?
We good. We good. We just discussing Juneteenth. You there displaying all them guns and stuff, bro.
I heard you just talking about it. I got I put down the definitions. I don't know if y'all want me to read it later, but about Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, and I also have the meaning of Juneteenth. So you know the difference between the two. So,
Tell us what Juneteenth is, would you?
well, Juneteenth is a holiday celebrated on 19th of June to commemorate the emancipation of enslaved people in the United States. The holiday was first celebrated in Texas, where on that date in 1865, in the aftermath of the Civil War, slaves were declared free under the terms of the 1862 Emancipation Proclamation. Then I also pulled up, I just put in the Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, and it says President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January the 1st, 1863, which followed up the Juneteenth. As the nation approached its third year of bloody civil war, the proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforth forward shall be free. So
Let me ask you this, Chris. Kim just our producer just had some great fun facts on talking about the show. Let me ask you this. All right, I'm being amused by the producer's comments. I was just saying when you sign on with those great facts, she had some fun facts. You had the bear facts. What? Uh, I'm getting this feedback. I don't know where it's. But anyway, uh, okay. what she said was, um, what the question was how is it that people are supposed to react when they have been enslaved all of their lives, and all of a sudden now they're set free? I don't know what's going on with some of our technical stuff, but we've lost Kim. Trying to hopefully we can get him back. Um, oh, there we go. So my questions are how and Kim, as a former investigator in the public defender's office, how do we expect people to assimilate after they've been locked away long periods of time? It's similar to what our slave forefathers had to adjust to after Juneteenth.
Well, one thing I look at is it's kind of like my friend Kelvin that did 57 years in prison. Went to prison.
How many years, Kim?
57 total.
Oh my gosh.
He went to prison at 17 years old, and he did 57 years in prison. He went to prison in 1960. So one thing I noticed about him, matter of fact, the day when we had him out to take him over to the reentry center to pick up they were gonna issue him a Florida ID card because everybody needs ID. We're gonna issue him a Florida ID card, issue some toiletries, some socks, some little basic necessities. The day we got ready to take him over there, we put him in the car, and we had to say, "Okay, Kelvin, you got to put your seatbelt on." He threw his hands up in there and said, "What do I do?" He went to prison in 1960, and it was 2000 and let's see, just 22. He got out in 2000, I think, is when he was released. What I'm getting at, my point is, you have to realize that when you're treated as a slave, you don't get the normal rights that everybody else gets. So you're behind the times. You're behind the times, whether it be back there during slavery times or right now with Kevin's situation. They're not used to what's going on in regular society, so they have to get acclimated in what's current. If that makes sense to you, that you have to get acclimated on what's going on and what's current, what you're allowed to do as a free person. What free people are entitled to do and all that type of stuff.
So then it's not unheard of to say that slaves had a major assimilation to make after being told what to do. Grown men, some of them as old as Calvin was at that time. This is just hard for me to fathom. That's all I can say. So that's what they had to adjust to. That's what our ancestors had to adjust to, and of course we know what it evolved into. Okay, it went from being enslaved to what became Jim Crowism, and then it evolved into segregation. And then Kim, that's kind of when you and I came on the scene in turn of the decades of 50s and the 60s, when there was still colored, white marble water fountains. I started in a segregated school system. I was in, I think, 8th grade, which meant you probably third or fourth grade.
I was in second.
You were in second grade when the schools were integrated. And I'll just tell you what Daddy said to me, because I was, and that's a good segue into Father's Day. I went to a school, Boylan Haven, right across from where we were living, was an older facility, and I was going to be transferred to another facility, kind of where you guys grew up, or where the home place over there where you are, right around the curve. I was going to be going to school. I think the name of it was Annie Beeman, and my dad said, "Is Annie Morgan now?"
Yeah, that's what it was. It was Annie Morgan. It's closed down now, but that's what you're talking about, right there in the curve.
Okay. Okay, it's gone. Okay, so my dad said, our dad said, he said, "Well, I tell you what," he said, "you better find you a school, because for the life of me, you're not gonna leave one old school and go to another just because it's deemed white." And of course, that's what happened. We lost the identity of all of our high schools. Gilbert High School was busted to, at that time, a 7th grade center. It eventually became a junior high school. Stanton was busted down to something, And those were the hallmarks of our community. You had Gilbert on the east side, Stanton on the west side. We're talking Jacksonville, everybody, for our Broward, South Florida viewers. And then you had Raines was relatively new because it was started in 1965. And then Raines, and then, of course, downtown was Stanton Vocational, where if you had a record or if you were a young lady who was with child, those were the schools. And we had Eugene J. Butler over there across the viaduct, what we call Mixon Town, and it was busted to a 7th grade center. So that's what happened. And so that's how I ended up going over to the other school, and then my whole mama came over there. But that's what my daddy said. He said, I'd be dog if you all are going to leave one old school and go to another just because it's white. So this is what we had. They didn't get me to get into a diatribe, but this is what we had to deal with on the throws on the other side of segregation.
They had on the. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'm just saying. So can you imagine that whole evolution process from slavery to economic bondage, still to Jim Crowism, to segregation, to what our childhood, turned out to be.
Also, in that time, man, you got to consider the police industry got started back then because it was started because of slavery. A lot of people don't realize that the police industry was started back then because after all the plantations was closed down and everything, they no longer had slaves to work their crops and all that kind of stuff. So what would happen? They started the police industry, and they would arrest a black person and sentence them to, say, 6 months on a plantation. Your job was to go there and pick crops or whatever they had you do on that plantation. It wasn't nothing but slavery, and that's where they would arrest black people and sentence you to different plantations. That's how the police industry was started. So that's why a lot of black people have a problem trusting police right now to this same day, to this very day, because of the way the police industry started and all. Also, in relation to what you were saying, I got this little nugget in there. They had on the news today that Old Stanton downtown, which is a school where Daddy went, the original Stanton, they're getting ready to redo it. They got so many millions of dollars, they're getting ready to redo it and make a museum out of it. That school was set closed for close to probably 40, 60 years, I think, probably, because I don't ever remember it being open. But I think it was open at one point during my lifetime. I'll be 60 in December. So, but anyway, they're getting ready to reopen, redo that building. Huh?
You'll be what?
Yeah, they're hitting the 6-0. But they're getting ready to redo that school, which is kind of exciting to open that back up. A lot of people here, when they hear people talk about Stanton, they think it's always been over there on 13th Street, where the Stanton Preparatory College is. No, that hadn't always been Stanton. Stanton was right downtown, so that's getting ready to reopen. That's exciting. So, a lot of history behind what you say, that little timeline that you just talked about, and just all the different things that changed and took place during that time. Like you say, I remember when downtown in my younger days, we used to go to the dentist right across the street from what was Hammond Plaza. Now it's James Well and Johnson Park. But back then it was called Hammond Plaza. And we used to go to the dentist. I can remember going up there, and if you're in the dentist's office in the old Acorns building, you have to go to the restroom. You go down the hall and you can still see on the door where they're taking the sign off. The words were still, the imprint of the words was still on the door, colored only, and they could have painted over that, but they didn't. They could have shellacked over it or whatever. They didn't, probably as a reminder. But, I can remember that. I can remember the bathrooms being down underground at Hammond Plaza, or the black bathrooms and the white bathrooms, in Hammond Plaza, they were underground. So, I remember a whole lot about history. And it's when I'm on this subject, I'm gonna say this and I'll shut up. But it's crazy that here in the state of Florida, they don't want to discuss the critical race theory in schools, but they want to leave the statues up. That's double standards to me. I mean, they don't want to talk about the history. They don't want to teach about the history in schools, but they want those statues to remain so they can preserve the history. And that's double standards to me. My whole feelings about it here in Jacksonville, I don't know what it's like in Fort Lauderdale, but there's a big issue about changing the names of schools of former Confederate generals and all. They've changed several schools to different names now. They've taken down the statue that was in the middle of Hammond Plaza. They changed Hammond Plaza to James Well and Johnson Park instead of Hammond Plaza because Hammond was a slave owner. And now they have one statue. Well, they have a couple still here, but they have one remaining in the old Confederate Park, which is now Springfield Park. They changed the name of it, but they have a statue still standing there of the ladies of the Confederacy, and it talks about what they did to support, the Confederate, the soldiers and all that kind of stuff. They pretty much prepared meals for them and all that. It's a statue of a lady with two little girls at her feet, and at the top of the actual statue, they have a Confederate flag, a statue of like a Confederate flag, kind of like you have to look at it to really tell what it is. You can't see it from the ground. But I was just talking to my daughter about it earlier. That statue, and this is just my opinion. I know what it stands for. I know what it has a lot of hurt to a lot of people. But instead of they're saying that it's going to take $500-some thousand to remove that statue, excuse me, because they want to take it down and be able to move it and set it up somewhere else in a museum or something. To me, I think what they should do with that park, that whole park, and it's been Confederate Park most of my life, but what they ought to do to it is take that park, rename it Springfield Diversity Historical Park or something. Instead of taking $500,000 to tear down that statue, take $500,000 to erect some Martin Luther King statue in the same park, erect some other people of color from Puerto Rican or whatever nationality, erect several different statues in that same park and make it Springfield Diversity Historical Park. That way you can go there and you can learn your history from each race, It's our history. My white brothers say it's their history. They want to leave it standing because it's their history. It's part of my history too, because that's what happened to our people. So I like to be able to take my grandkids to one place and say, okay, this is, the ladies of the Confederacy statue. This is Martin Luther King who fought against, fought for equal rights for us. Go to another statue and say, this is so-and-so, they fought for this and that. Make it a diverse park where you can have all the different statues instead of taking money, tearing down the statue. $500,000 to tear down the statue. Pay a black person here in this city who can erect the Martin Luther King statue. Let them make money off of it, and also at the same time you're putting up another statue I got Brother Muhammad on there. We've talked about this several times. So I think that will solve the problem. Everybody wins with that. Brother Muhammad talks about all the time. That statue in that park and calls the first black person to kill another black person. We got a lot of things going on in this city that are much more important. I was talking to Sheriff candidate Keisha Burke about it, the same thing today we were talking about it. It's a whole lot of stuff going on in the city that we're wasting time talking about removal of statues. When those statues ain't cause the first black on black crime. They ain't cause a lot of things that's going on in this city. A lot of people don't even know that statue's there. If you polled this city where that statue was, they couldn't even tell you where it was. They'd never seen it before. So instead of tearing that statue down, erect some other statues where we can all talk about our history. We can go to that one park and point to different statues and talk about our history. So that's just an idea, and I got a lot of it from Brother Muhammad. So
let me get some clarity from you all on that. So I think that's an excellent idea. But are you saying leave the ladies of the Confederate flag, the ladies of the Confederate statue there, and then surround it with diverse individuals that have to comprise the city of Jacksonville? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. That way you can take your grandkids, because I talk to my grandkids about slavery, but I have to just tell them about it. And now that they're not going to be talking about it in school, they're not going to learn about it, So this
Kim, how do you feel about it?
Huh?
I hate to cut into you, but how do you feel about that, man? That we can't do that in school. We can't talk about. That you and I have to send our grandkids to a private school so they can get some Black history, because this governor, I know Fern Mack is chomping at the bit, but this governor and this legislature has decided that we can't do this in the schools, that we can't talk about the past atrocities that have been meted on Black folk in this state or in this nation.
Personally, I think that should have been something that they could have taken a vote on. I mean, he shouldn't have had to say so and to say, we're not going to talk about this, talk about that. I personally, I learned about slavery in school, learned about it from talking to our parents, from different people and all. reading books or whatever the case may be, which made me, but the conversation from school is what made me spark the interest and want to learn more about it on my own. You know, if them not talking about it in school, of course, that whole history is washed away. These kids nowadays don't get to hear about that. I think they need to know where we came from, because you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going. So we need to know what we had to go through. Our kids need to know what our forefathers went through to get us where we are today. And I think that'll make them concentrate harder and want them to be, make them want to be more successful because of what our past, what our forefathers went through.
Can you see, Kim? Did you say it that way? Well, this is just, folks, we're saying to you, please endure with us tonight. We got some technical issues. We're going to work through this in the upcoming weeks. But this conversation is too good tonight for us to ramble and just shut it down because of this. I beg producers for another block, even when the 9 o'clock hour strikes. I beg for one block beyond that. Can you imagine? Okay, so we saw Roots, and I think you were. I think I was in junior high school or just hitting high school. You were probably at elementary school. I don't know how you felt about it. I knew, whatever I felt, I know I had to contain it because I knew we had to answer to the boss, at the house. But it left me just furious, just angry. But young Kunta Kinte, played by LeVar Burton, you saw how rebellious his character was in a role which was to depict the real Kunta Kinte. Could you see him being released at that point and on Juneteenth, and having to go out and fend for himself with those slave patrols that you spoke of and reminded us of? Could you imagine how he and people of his like mind had to try to survive during that season? Can you imagine that?
And he would have ended up being arrested and working on somebody's plantation, continuing to be a slave with his mindset, because he refused to bow down. And so that's what, they would have put him right back on the plantation, and he would have probably bucked the jack just like he did in the autobiography. So, no, I don't see him. And that's what a lot of people have to understand. Like I heard you mention it earlier. When slaves were first released, half of them probably didn't even know that they were released. Some of them probably didn't know they was released. They didn't know what they were capable of, what they were allowed to do. They probably were scared to do some things. Imagine being that first generation of slaves who was released. You don't know where you stand.
That's the point I've been making. Yeah, that's just the point I've been asking. Kim, can you hit some of those questions? Can you hit some of those questions? And at 9 o'clock, Madam Producer, let's go back and remind them who brings the show on every week. And if we can beg of you, please, Madam, to take us over until 9:15. We'll finish up because we do want to talk a little bit about the championship and those kind of things. But would you address those latter couple of comments, Kim?
Brother Muhammad has a comment on right now. It says the history of Confederacy is a part of Black history. I agree. White supremacy and Black inferiority is American history. It's all tied together, and that's he and I talk about it all the time. I agree with him 100%. Vern has a comment say those news of proclamation was slow and likely slow on purpose. That's another good point, Vern. It probably was slow on purpose, but Brother Muhammad, a 108-year-old monument hidden in the park isn't holding Black people back. That's what we said earlier. It hasn't caused none of these Black on Black homicides. Right. It hasn't caused half the stuff that's going on in the Black community. Half those people in the Black community don't even know about that statue. So that statue isn't it isn't the problem. And Muhammad brought something out to me a while back. We got an activist here in town that goes down there. He's part of the Northside Coalition. I don't even really want to call his name because I'm not a big fan of it. But he goes down to city council and make all this racket about the statues and change the names on schools and everything when he has a slave name himself. His name is not. His name came from his white slave owners. But he took time to change his own name. So. Muhammad has shed a whole lot of light on a lot of things about that. We got to get him back on the show. He can talk a lot about this, man. He talks about his light skin and how every time he looks in the mirror, he didn't get that light skin from two slaves, so it gets pretty deep, you start stirring that pot, man, it gets deep. So we got to bring him back on and finish this conversation up. I know we're late now, but
word. No, okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna ask the producer to remind. Could she please again show? Can she let us know who brings us on every week? Can she come on, and then we're gonna come on the other side, and we're gonna talk about what do we do now that Juneteenth is here. An absolutely outstanding profile, moreGoGetYourCreations.com. Every last one of your virtual needs, web building, those kinds of things, getting your brand out over social media, IG, all of that stuff, they got you. You see it down on the bottom of the screen. You might want to contact them right now. You see this great show that they're producing tonight. Before we go, thank you for signing on, Mac, and thank you for your comments. We're going to get into let's bring the celebration of Juneteenth up to date. But before we do that, I just wanted one thing that Brother Muhammad brought up. Fern is saying, and we had this conversation. This is how I think you and Fern met Kim, and it's how I was brought into this marvelous relationship with our sister. Can we, let's get the facts out and move on. There's always this tension about how much do you talk about it and how much do you move on from it. Well, you said earlier that we'll repeat the atrocities of our past if we don't know what they are, because history repeats itself. So tie that in with Brother Muhammad saying that slavery perpetuated white supremacy. Does that still go on? He also said it perpetuates black inferiority. Well, we talked about the black homicide rate, the black on black homicide rate. There were 32 murders in Chicago. 32 shootings, 3 murders in Chicago this past weekend, black on black. Has all of that, I don't think what people don't understand, and man, I'm trying to tone it down. People don't understand that kind of stuff has migrated down through slavery. It's been the conditioning, the teaching of the slave master, and all the way through Jim Crowism, because don't get it twisted, when the slave patrols and all those were out there were always snitches that they sent out who snitched on where black people were hiding. They could have gotten a hold of Harriet Tubman. There were black scouts that were sent out by the men to kind of hunt them down and bring them back in. So all of that is going on. So that leads into black inferiority, because you wouldn't sell out on your own people if you didn't have an inferiority complex. And it leads to today us gunning each other down and doing the things that we're doing. Can you just
also, if I could jump in one second,
address that, please.
I want to also when they went to Africa and capturing slaves, they used other black slaves to help capture slaves. So they've been using our own people to against our own people for years, and that's all that mindset and everything that's been going on for years. So the Jim Crow theory, so.
Now you're bringing me to a whole new conversation. This conversation is going to take a radical change in about 8 minutes. But for right now, I just want to just lean with that because, right now the Hispanic population in Dade County has turned from. I know y'all say, why we talking politics? Well, it's mindset, not politics, it's mindset. So the Hispanic population, it used to be you could draw a line from Palm Beach County all the way across, straight down. Those were all 3 counties, three blue counties. Palm Beach County, Broward County, Dade County. Now Dade County has turned tremendously more of a red. It used to be purple, now it's turning more red. And it's because of the high. If you cross the Broward County line, you have just gone into a dense a dense Hispanic stronghold. And the reason these are Hispanics who are conducting these polls and explaining them. They're saying that, and this ties to what you just said, Kim. They're saying that down in Dade County, Hispanics are being indoctrinated at the fact that if you vote Democratic, you're voting for socialization. If you're voting Democratic, you're voting for socialization. Is that what it's not socialization? What's that word that they've been playing up? Not communism, socialism. They've been playing up in socialism. Got to get it in this 60-year-old head. They've been playing up. So they're playing the socialism card, and it's causing more Hispanics to go to the Republican Party because they don't want to be identified as socialists. Okay, well, so let me do the historical thing. You talked a second ago about how. And I had this conversation with a guy. We were having a very stern conversation, a white brother one day. He said, "You kidding me?" He said, "Over in Africa, you guys black people sold each other." I said, "Yes, imperialism was not just born yesterday, but it has been certainly perverted in this nation. And we didn't just start selling to each other until whites arrived on the continent and perpetuated that as a concept. Then it became a thing. It shouldn't have happened. It's weak. It's a sellout, but it never should have happened. But it happened. Okay, so we want to talk about socialism. Let's talk about capitalism versus socialism. When I was a kid in school, there was a school, and Fern, I know you endured this too. There was a class called Americanism, ABC, Americanism versus Communism. Okay, communism, we try to block socialism in with communism. So let me just ask this question. When the COVID-19 money went out 2 years ago, how many of you turned down the money that the government meted out? How many of you did that? I want to see you come on this program, write that in there, that I turned it down. Or how many of you are of a Social Security age and you refuse to take Social Security? You could take your money, you could have taken your money and invested it, but you had to pay this government, and now you're collecting Social Security, which is far more than what you invested in the system. So how many of you are receiving from that socialism program? Or how many of you are enjoying the benefits of your civic government? How many of you are enjoying the benefits of your state government? How many of you are enjoying some of the benefits of the national government? That's socialism, my brothers and sisters. So let's not get it twisted and make that a right wing, left wing, Democratic, Republican, red, blue. That's an American situation. And you know what? I'm glad it exists because there are people, as Jesse Jackson would call, at the lower end of the boat who would not stand a chance. That's why there are people in slums that evolved from slavery. They never had an economic opportunity. Jesse Jackson talks about economic slavery. That's what many people have endured, economic slavery throughout human history since slavery. And they've never been able to put. That's why you got the slums in Brooklyn. That's why you got the slums in New York City. We've been there, Kim. We've seen all of this together. That's why you got the slums in Philadelphia. What slummy slums are? That's why we got the slums in all of these nations, in all of these cities that we have. Okay, were it not for some form of socialism, people would not stand a chance. Yes, genius exists in the project. Genius exists in the slums. Cure for cancer exists in the slums. Yes, humanitarian projects are being birthed in the slums. But why are we having to live like that? That's all the results, the residual effects of slavery that have not been overcome. But yet you want to cry socialism? Socialism? Kidding me? You got comments, Kim.
Oh yeah. I want if Madam Producer, if you put that last comment by Brother Muhammad back up, and this is so true right here. We turn Juneteenth into something to commercialize rather than truly commemorate. Here we are celebrating being free from white rule while we continue to perpetuate black self-hatred. We actually make mockery of Juneteenth like we make mockery out of everything else. There's a saying that goes, the worst form of slavery is mental slavery, because those who are slaves don't know that they're still enslaved. Lincoln freed black slaves not because he loved black people and hated what? That's very true. Juneteenth is now it's so commercialized. I participated in a Juneteenth event with Chair Candidate Keisha Burton on Saturday, and everybody have their booths set up out there. If you walk up to half those people and ask them what Juneteenth is, they probably couldn't tell you. They're there to make their money from their little booths they got set up out there and all. Some of them might not even know it, because one of the guys who came up, one of the guys from one of the street dudes I know from over there came up and was talking to me, and I was explaining to him about Juneteenth. He had no idea what it was. This was a guy in his late 20s, had no idea what Juneteenth is. So a lot of people out there, you got to realize, and that's why it's so dangerous, this race theory, taking that out of schools and everything. That's what makes it so dangerous, because people don't learn the history. A lot of people, like I say, just don't know what Juneteenth is. If they knew what it was, they'd probably take it a little bit more serious. They might still commercialize it, but at least they'll know what the meaning of it is. So that's why this critical race theory is so important. Removing out of schools, we should be entitled to learn what our history is. It's history. It ain't going nowhere. It's gonna be around. And it's facts. It ain't gonna change. You can't dress it up. Can't put nothing on it. It's history, and we all need to learn our history.
KD, I wanna comment on that, on Brother Muhammad's comment, and this whole idea of Juneteenth being already commercialized, and we're gonna counter that in a second. Last night, CNN had a program that lasted from 8 till 11 a.m. You may have seen it. I sent you the reminder.
I saw the last end of it.
Okay, from the Hollywood Bowl, it was a great entertainment show. I sent reminders because they promoted it for an hour before, and they had a post-hour show, which was very entertaining and very factual. I sent reminders out to a group of preachers that I have a text thread. I share text thread with, and one of them came back to me with the same thing. We have commercialized Juneteenth. People don't know what it's about. It's just being sold down the river. It's commercialism. I think we got to go a little deeper before we just throw that claim out there. Then it's up to us to say, okay, that on last year, President Joseph R. Biden Jr. Signed this into law, signed Juneteenth after it had been pressed and asked for many years by Congressperson Sheila Jackson Lee out of the state of Texas, who represents that county. It was signed into law. It's a federal law. That means that it has financial implications to it. Okay, because it's a federal holiday, it has financial implications to it. The producer's asking me, I'm getting. So it has financial implications to it. Yesterday's program, CNN or somebody made some money. They made a lot of money because they had a 3-hour block, or actually a 5-hour block where they sold commercials. Okay, you went to a program, you went to an event where people had booths. You know what? Black people, poor people have always been very, my mind's just escaping what I'm trying to say. They have always been creative. They've always found ways to survive, okay? Because they got booths set up there, then how about people going by there and giving them literature, informing them what this date was about, letting them know about it. Instead of criticizing that that's taking place, let's throw stuff out and let them, yeah, man, yeah, I know this is a chance you're making some money. I got no problem off this, but you got to know why you're out here. You got to know what brought you here today. This is a day that our slaves were released in 1865. That's what we're actually commemorating. That's why you're gathered. That's why you have this booth here today. How did you spend your Juneteenth? You just told me, what did you do? What service did you do, Kim?
The only problem I have with what you just said is, and I agree with what you said, because like you say, Black people have already been creative about ways to make money, ways to survive. It's all the way from back in the days when we've learned how to survive. Only issue I have with that is, like they say, if you want to keep something a secret, put it in a book. People ain't gonna read. you know, and you give them some literature for them to read about what Juneteenth is, they're not going to read it. They're going to put it down and they're going to continue to sell their products or sit there and finish talking and whatever they're doing, you know. What maybe it might be helpful if when they sign up and put their booth out there, they have to, you know, be told what Juneteenth is really about. You know, when they go to pay their fee, their registration fee to put their booth out there. Maybe somebody needs to tell them, they have them all come together and say, hey, okay, this is what this holiday is about. Somebody tell them something, they're going to take it in more so than they will if they have to read it. A lot of people are not going to read, and that's just sad. But the way I spent my Juneteenth, and I sent the producer some pictures. I was out there at like I said, at the Juneteenth celebration. That's actually that's Sheriff candidate Keisha Burton, right in the middle, not with the hat on, between the two ladies with the hat on. Of course, that's me and my wife Donna and some other people from the sheriff's office. Chief Burton's husband, Greg, standing back there in the back. But we went out there because we knew that it's time for a change in this city, man, and it's urgent that we get to make this change in the city. It's time for some new leadership in this city. Keisha Burton is going to do. I mean, she's been doing things for the last 4 years. She just started doing this just because of the election. She's been in the neighborhood. She's been in the community. People come up and call her auntie. You know, that shows the relationship that she has with the community, with different people from the hood. I'm not talking about community leaders. I'm talking people from the hood come up and call her auntie. Well, she's already talked to them in the past and everything. What's up, auntie? You know, that tells you that she's already made her face known in the community. And when she makes her face known in the community, she's out there spreading, she's building relationships and telling people that I'll put it like this. She was the zone commander in Zone 2, assistant chief. They moved her from PAL, thought they was going to hurt her by moving her from PAL because she had so many good relationships at the Police Athletic League when she was the director of PAL. That's a great shirt, Out East original. But when they moved her to Zone 2, which is the Arlington area, they thought it was going to hurt her chances of becoming a candidate for sheriff. What happened, they moved out there, she built so much morale for the officers that were in that zone, which had never existed before. The chief and the officers didn't have a relationship. She built morale within those officers. Now those officers want to go out there and get out their car and meet the people in the community. She's doing neighborhood walks in the community. She's constantly doing something out there, talking to business owners, but not only talking to those business owners, she get out there and talk to the guys on the block, the dudes out there on the track causing problems. Once you start building relationships with them, that's where they start coming in calling her auntie. Start calling her, you know, I don't know what it is, but when a female steps to somebody out there on the streets compared to a male, you get a different effect back from it. You know, they don't want to let this female down because that's mama-like. And I don't care how bad you is in the hood, but you got a mama. And, you know, when a female steps to you, it's kind of like, you know, you don't want to let mama down, you know. So it gives a different effect. Keisha's going to make a difference in this city. She had a 16% reduction rate in Zone 2, crime reduction rate in Zone 2. Homicides were down, shootings and homicides were down 34%, home invasions down 32%, burglars were down, I think it was 28%. That's just in that zone where she was working in. That comes from her getting out there, walking the streets, and a short amount of time, only not even a full year, I don't think she spent out there. But that comes from getting out there, and I've been on walks with her before. I know how she gets involved and talks to people. She humbles, you know, herself. And that's what she's all about. So she's going to make a difference in this city. I think she's, you know, we got the governor now. I don't know if you're aware of down in Fort Lauderdale, but the sheriff had to resign because he moved out of county. The city charter says that if you leave Duval County, your office is vacant. It automatically goes vacant. So he had to leave he resigned from his sheriff position, and the governor appointed the undersheriff. The governor at the same time when they appointed the undersheriff, said that he's going to support T.K. Waters, who's a Republican. Black Japanese, a Republican. You know, and that's what it is. I think one of the issues is stop going with party lines and just go with the best candidate. Because if you went with the best candidate, and I know T.K., that's my boy, a good friend of mine, but if it beats just straight up and honest, Keisha is the best qualified to bring crime down in this city and to bring this city together. If you look at her campaign party, her team, Team Burton, is the most diverse team that you ever see. It's kind of like looking at Obama's team. Very diverse. You see people from all nationalities. I went with the event this morning was about refugees coming into this country, and it was people from Africa, Afghanistan,
Wow.
Ukraine, people from all over was at this place. And none of the other candidates were there. Keisha looked it up. She said she wanted to go there because she wanted to be educated. She wanted to learn about, different races and all. That's what's going to make a difference in this city. When we were walking out, we had a conversation. She was saying, I wonder if there ever been any refugees that became police officers.
Wow.
That's something that, I never thought about.
Wow.
That's something that we need to tap into that. And that's something that she's going to look into as she becomes sheriff, trying to recruit some refugees to become police officers. She just doing everything the right way. And one of the things she always say to me, right is right and wrong is never right. So they're doing some slick politics going on with the governor coming out supporting TK. The same day that he appointed the undersheriff, he said that he's going to support TK. He actually had a thing with standing next to him and say, "That's my boy." Some people take offense to that. That's my boy.
Wow.
But that's they overlook that. So
wow.
it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot in there that
no, man, I can't.
if you look at it, that no, man, and
I
you can
got
tell
you,
he's
boy.
not. He hasn't even made any statements to the media yet. He says that he's going to make his statements once he retires from the sheriff's office because he's still working as the chief of the detective division, chief of investigations. So he hasn't retired yet. So he'll address the media. He hasn't showed up at any other political events. The other candidates showed up to, hadn't showed up to any of that. And he said he'll address the media when he's ready to address them, not because they're ready for him, because they want him to address them. So so that it's.
So I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say. So you spent, and I think it's important we say that. And with all due respect, Brother Muhammad, and that point, we that was a good point for us to discuss. But you spent your Juneteenth doing something quite constructive. Not only Juneteenth. A lot of people, let's remember, Saturday was actually Juneteenth. It's kind of been a weekend celebration. So it was celebrated Saturday. The actual day was Saturday. We celebrated it on yesterday, and today was a federal holiday. Monday was a federal holiday. So you spent all of those days doing something very, very constructive for your civic government. We don't even have to talk about, you just were out trying to get good news about a good person who can do good things for the city. You spent your Juneteenth doing that. Okay. I spent mine in similar matter, just without it being, I guess you can say without it being supporting any particular candidate. I spent mine doing voter registration rallies. On Friday night, I actually was at an event, City of Lauderhill, which is called, City of Lauderhill, called Moving with the Mayor, where there were 300 people who met at Lauderhill Sports Complex, and they had a professional DJ, they had a professional trainer, and they had 300 plus people out there training. And I registered voters that night, that Friday night. Then Saturday, you can see those photos now at a local bowling lanes here in Sunrise, and all these cities are right here together, where I actually registered voters. You see some of them there at the bowling alley, and I just felt so good. It also was a diverse event. We had young people, we had middle agers, we had people that were my age and older, and we had all colors of people. There were Hispanic brothers and sisters. There were white brothers and sisters. There were islanders. There were African Americans. We were all like a melting pot. You see at the bowling lanes, and I wish I could have displayed more of our pictures. We were there, and it was a voters. I registered voters that night on Juneteenth. I sacrificed as a preacher. I'm kind of laid back on a Saturday night, but we sacrificed this time to do something very positive and constructive with Juneteenth. So we hope that everybody understands that Juneteenth was not just a historic celebration, but we kind of contemporized it, and we went and did our thing in other areas, and we're not the only ones. We're just the ones that's talking about it on this show tonight. Kim, how was your Father's Day? I know we got just about 4 or 5 minutes. We got to go. How was Father's Day for you?
I tell you, it was hard. That Saturday night, I had one of my Desi moments because I was thinking, this Saturday before Father's Day, and I was saying, I read the post that you put on about Daddy, and I said I'm going to put me a post on there about Daddy and Desi because both being fathers. But it was hard for me that night, man. I booed like a little baby thinking about my son and him not being there for his kids. So I had my little rough time, but like every time I have those times, I get through it. So. It was tough, but I think about, and I was talking to Kristen earlier. She actually made a point. She said something today that she was saying that each one of his kids, the Lord has made sure that they have another father figure in their life. Like with Kristen, with Kamara and Chloe, Travis is there with them. With Destiny, of course, Aubrey, her husband, and he's been there for days, and of course they always know they come here. They know Pop always got them. So and it's true. They're taken care of. They're well taken care of. But I just wish sometimes, like when Des graduated from kindergarten, how excited Des would have been there. He never got a chance to meet Des. He was crazy about Chloe, crazy about all his kids, Kamara and Chloe. But he was tough on Kamara because he was a little boy and he wanted to be tough, But little Chloe was he was calling this Cola Bear. And I just wish he would have had a chance to meet Destiny. So my Father's Day was good, man. I thank God for, I never questioned what he do, what happens in my life, what I've been through with Desi. And of course I miss my dad. Daddy was my hero. He is my hero. And I was talking to Mama the day before Father's Day. Me and Mama were going to the store, so I was talking to her about how much I respected everything that Daddy stood for, how much of a real man he was. He didn't back down from nothing. He stood for what was right. He would just always, and everybody I talked to in the sheriff's office, he did 46 years with the sheriff's office. Everybody I talked to at the sheriff's office, I would say, man, your daddy was a good man. Your daddy was a good man. Daddy was there during the 60s, during the rough times, during the times when as a matter of fact, some of the white officers that used to ride around the boys' home, used to always, they talk about Daddy. Some of the old officers talk about Daddy. Yeah, man, I go by to see Mr. Varner. He always had good things to say. He stood for what was right, and just so I had a decent Father's Day. Once I got through, my little thing about Desi, I had a great Father's Day. Donna took me to Ruth Chris's, my favorite restaurant, and came home, and me and her just laid in bed together and enjoyed each other's company. So I mean, it was a good Father's Day. That Saturday night was a little rough, but the rain went away and the sun came out, so it was good.
Man. I don't think, man, it could have been said better. And let me just say this: I am so, and I say this to you, and I'm caught in between talking about it and not talking about it. And you talk about Daddy being a real man. You are the epitome of what he meant to the three of us. You represent that strong manhood. You've been there with the most tragic circumstance that you could imagine or think of. So I'm always caught in between. Do I talk about it? Do I not talk about it? I'm a trained pastoral counselor. But I just will always admire, and if Daddy was here, he would also, the way you have handled that tragedy and how you have fueled that energy, your walks along the dangerous streets of Jacksonville. We're always praying for you, and I can't tell you that we're not overly concerned. We're always praying for you when you're doing it, but when a person may call us something,
Yeah,
it's just kind of hard. They're going to do what they're going to do, and you just better, kind of get behind and pray for them. And just want to shout you out for those things, and to say that as far as Pop is always there for not only his grandkids, but also all of the kids that you have influence for. And I think God's about to open another sphere of influence and another door. We know what you did over at the Pals, and we think he's just going to just expand that. One day you're going to get to retire, maybe not anytime soon. Okay. And as far as Daddy, I bear his name, and I'm going to tell you, I don't use the word proud often, but I wear that badge with a lot of pride. And I know Anthony and you and I are glad to be Varners, and our mother was blessed to be married to Dozell Varner Senior. And I'm gonna stop talking. I just say this: we got to get together and rename that strip. You told me the process, and we'll talk about it. We'll get it done. That strip right in front of 1245 Jesse Street, it's got to be some way. It's got to be called Dozell Varner Way. We got to work that out. So, listen, we're going off. We're getting ready to go. We covered a lot of stuff tonight, Brother Muhammad, Fern, Mac, Tracy, everybody who's been a part of the night show. We really appreciate you, Leroy. I know you look at it later, and everybody who else will look at it later. This show just might have to be boosted. This has been an awesome show. Kim, I know I know you got a lot of issues when we switch up. But on the way out of here, for 3 minutes, can we just talk about the Warriors?
Hey, I tell you what, Seth, the best shooter in the game, man. I don't have nothing against. I have nothing really against Seth. And he didn't do a whole lot of hot dog in this tournament. I don't know if you noticed the final series. He didn't do a lot of hot dogging. He'd make his shot, he'd run down court. He didn't do a bunch of little signs and all like he do it during the season. So I had a lot more respect for him during this tournament. I think he actually knew that if Boston would have came to play on any given night, they could have lost. That Boston team was tough, man, if they come to play. But they're young, they're immature. When they start falling apart, they fall completely apart. And of course, you can't do that against some known winners like the Warriors. So, I made it known that I've never pulled for Boston in my life. I'm a Laker. I was a Laker fan back in the days when they used to battle with Boston. I never pulled for Boston in my life. So, but yeah, I take my hat off to the Warriors, man. They played an excellent tournament. Even your boy Draymond put in work that last game. Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of his either, but he put in work that last game. So, I take my hat off to him, man. Congratulations to him,
I'll just say this. We had this conversation last week. I'm a Heat fan. Heat's number one. The Warriors are 1A. I came within 4 points of having the best of both worlds. We've been playing each other. But as a fan of the game, as I know you are, and as a tremendous fan of the National Basketball Association, I have nothing but appreciation, love, and respect for that Boston team. I pull for them. I'm like you. I've always cut. Well, actually, there were some times I pulled for them. It's according to who the personnel was. This group, I pulled for them until they reached my Heat, and then, of course, until they reached the Warriors. But I'll just say this, without getting into talking about different players, that young group of talent, with that coach, I have the greatest respect for him. He was trained under Popovich. I think that team is going to be somebody's trouble for a lot of years to come.
They got to identify a team leader on that team, though, because Tatum ain't a team leader, in my opinion. They need. Every team needs a team leader, and they got to get a team leader that's going to get in the other player's face and say, "Hey, you need to do this. You need to do that." That's going to stand up. Tatum was driving to the basket, anticipating fouls instead of finishing the shot. And if you notice, if you look at that tournament, he got all the turnovers. A lot of them were his. So.
Well, a lot of stuff we talked about, a lot of stuff you're saying now, you just use the word that kind of puts it all under. It's immature. That the team they're just young and they're immature. But if you remember, the 2012 Heat was the same. They did the same thing. They collapsed against Dallas, a team they easily should have beat, I think. When all of this to get worked out, I think. All of this to get worked out, and they'll work beyond. It'll get worked out. Things happen in the middle of the show. It'll get worked out, and I think that team is going to be. I think those two guys comprise a great nucleus to build a team around. And my hat's off to them. Listen, Golden State, that's a ball team right there, and I think they'll be around for a minute. People have already thrown sand on him. Steph is only 34. He's not 39. I'll take LeBron James at 37 any day of the week. Now, I don't want him, but I'm just saying his talent and his abilities, I take him. So don't throw Steph Curry away at 34. Draymond, he's even younger, and Clay, he can only get better recovering from those injuries. And all of that young talent over on that bench, they got Wiseman, who didn't play this year. He has yet to come in and step in. You got Poole, you got Ominga, all of those. It's just a lot of talent.
Well, Wiggins the truth too.
Oh man, how could I ever look
Man,
over
that boy saved him a couple of games. I think 2 games he had him on his back. So
absolutely the second best player on that team for that series. So yeah.
And I
listen,
like
man, I want you.
He was scoring and then getting in people's face. I like that. You need a bully on the team.
He got tough.
So.
He got tough. I think Draymond was in his ear. He got tough. All right. Shout out to the Warriors. Let me say it one last time. Warriors, Warriors, Warriors. KV, give us as I see it tonight. You take that under your wings tonight, and I'll sign us out.
Well, as I see it, first of all, I want to thank all the listeners who tuned in tonight. Mike Anderson, Brother Muhammad, Tracy, Fern. I appreciate your comments tonight. We weren't able to get all the comments out there, but I appreciate y'all being faithful and tuning in like you do. The way I see it is, and I'm talking about, we were asked about Juneteenth and we got on the subject of some of the different things relating to Juneteenth. I think that people do commercialize it along with other holidays. They commercialize like Christmas. Christmas is commercialized. Nobody looks at the true meaning of Christmas. So, we need to start being a little bit more serious. And that's probably everybody's job to do that. That's not just, that's everybody's job to make sure that happens. We gotta do better for our upcoming generation, man. This Juneteenth thing with the slavery, and we gotta make sure that they don't teach it in schools. We gotta make sure that we take our time out to teach our kids about our history, the dark side of it, the light side of it. We just need to talk about history in general. I think that's very, very important. Like I said earlier, you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going. So,
hey, thanks, KV. Thanks for coming on, man. You nailed it out the park tonight. Thank you. And again, thank you all to everybody who made it happen tonight. Next week, the dialogue is going to look at, we're just going to get it in. It's going to be a look at, we've already got guests sign up. We may be able to get another professional performer on. We're going to look at the history of Black music on next week. This is Black History. This is Black Music History Month, and we're going to celebrate it on the dialogue next week. Thank everybody for being here. Before you sign in, Kim, we were talking about some of the shows. Man, we looked at the other day. I was trying to send a show to a potential guest, and we ended up looking at the very Varner Christmas show that we did the first year the dialogue was on. What a show, Madam Producer, that you did. What a show, Kim. You all knocked the family, Christian, Toya, Dozell, Jessica, everybody, they just knocked it out the park. Travis, we just knocked Wendy. Everybody just came on and knocked that show out the park. Dialogue with Dozell is glad. We've been with you 2 years now. Let's make it a few more. What y'all say? Dialogue with Dozell. We're going to see you next Monday. We love you. Easy, bro.
All right, bro. We'll see you. Y'all have a good one. Thanks for our guests tuning in.
What are we?
Madam Producer, another great job.
Absolutely. We're a tour of what? Tour of what group? That's B3. The B3, y'all.
That's right.
We done.